Welcome to another deep dive. You guys sent in some really interesting stuff this time around. I'm
Yeah.
intrigued. So we've got pasted text, which
Yeah.
it's almost like a poem or like song lyrics even,
Hmm.
and it gets really deep into like spiritual ideas about surrender, the universe, all that good stuff.
Right.
And then for something totally different, we've got Pink Floyd's album, The Wall.
Very different.
Yeah. I mean, I'm already curious how these two things even connect.
Yeah, it is a pretty fascinating combo, isn't it?
It is.
On the one hand, we have paste and text with this whole idea of letting go and trusting the bigger picture.
Right?
And then on the other hand, you have this classic rock opera.
Yeah.
It's all about isolation and building up walls, like the opposite.
Exactly. But remember, we're not here to, critique the art itself.
Right.
We're diving deep into the ideas.
The theme.
Yeah, the themes that kind of come up when you put these two things together.
Exactly, yeah.
Hmm.
What are the patterns we can find? What questions pop up when you look at spirituality and rock and roll side by side?
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into pasted text first.
Okay.
This piece really emphasizes this idea of surrender, but not in a, giving up way.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about aligning yourself with, like, a greater plan,
Yeah.
accepting what is,
Yeah. All right.
And there was this one line that really stood out to me. It said, "The true perfection is when we surrender. We have no choice."
Powerful stuff.
I know, right?
What's really interesting there is,
Yeah.
it's not about being passive.
Yeah.
It's more like you're recognizing this like larger order at play, even questioning if we have choices at all, you know?
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of mind-blowing when you think about The Wall.
Yeah.
Then Pink, the main character, he spends the whole album basically fighting against that.
Braille.
He's building walls.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah. Trying to control his life, shut out pain.
Mm-hmm.
You really get the sense he wants to be the master of his own fate.
He does. But of course, as we see in the lyrics, that kind of backfires on him.
Oh, yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
Songs like Another Brick in the Wall, they really show that isolation.
Yeah.
He pushes everyone away,
Mm-hmm.
ends up trapped.
So he's doing, like, the exact opposite of what pasted text is suggesting.
It seems that way.
Yeah, he's resisting any kind of flow, clinging to control, even as it seems to be destroying him.
It's fascinating, right? Like, why are we so drawn to control,
I know.
even when it's hurting us?
Yeah.
Why is that such a strong impulse in us?
Well, pasted text seems to argue that control is an illusion anyway.
Oh,
There's that line, what rises is guided, what falls transforms. Like, it's all part of this grand design.
interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like everything's unfolding according to this plan,
Mm-hmm.
but we might not fully get it.
Right.
It could be comforting to some, like
Yeah.
you're being looked after.
Yeah.
But for others,
Yeah.
this idea of like a preordained life could be, well,
Scary.
unsettling to say the least.
For sure.
Yeah.
But you know what I find really interesting?
What's that?
They both use this image of walls,
Oh,
but in totally opposite ways.
yeah.
In pasted text, it's all about breaking down the walls inside ourselves.
Okay.
The stuff that prevents us from connecting to
Mhm.
that, like, universal flow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
While in the wall, it's all about construction.
Yes.
Hiding behind these barriers, retreating into, well,
Despair.
yeah, isolation, despair.
It's such a powerful visual, right?
It is. It really is.
This resistance to, like, vulnerability and human connection.
Totally.
That whole idea of opposing forces comes up in pasted text, too.
Oh, how so?
They use all these pairs of opposites, like moon and the sun, good and bad, even pain and direction.
It's like they're showing us two sides of the same coin.
Right.
Yeah, what's fascinating is that it argues they aren't really separate.
Okay.
They're part of this unified whole.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that concept of yin and yang, right?
Exactly.
Like, seemingly opposite forces, but they're actually totally dependent on each other.
Yeah, they need each other for balance.
Right, just like how pasted text talks about making mistakes.
Uh-huh.
But then it says those mistakes are taken right where wanted.
That makes you wonder then.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is Pink's breakdown in the wall actually part of some, like, larger transformation?
Interesting.
Is it in some weird way a necessary step toward the surrender the poem is talking about?
That's a really insightful connection.
You know.
It really is,
It's so interesting how these two things are playing together.
A lot of spiritual traditions,
Yeah.
they view suffering as this catalyst for growth.
Okay.
Like the old self has to break down so something new can emerge.
Right.
So maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe Pink's pain It's making way for something he can't even imagine yet.
I love that.
Yeah,
This is so interesting.
it is.
We've got surrender versus control.
Yeah.
Images of walls being built and broken down.
Yeah, contrasting images.
I'm dying to hear what specific moments in the wall really bring those themes to life, you know?
Let's take a look at those lyrics then.
Yeah, let's do it.
There are some real gems in there that show this tension between surrendering and trying to control.
I bet.
The wall is full of powerful imagery. It's hard to even unpack it all at once.
I know, right? Every time I listen, it's like I discover something new.
Mhm.
I'm excited to hear your take on it.
Let's dive in.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Last time we left off talking about like some pretty deep concepts.
Yeah.
Surrender, control,
Right.
and how those ideas show up in both pasted text and in the wall.
Yeah, it's amazing how these two sources are starting to connect,
My mind is still buzzing from it.
I know, right? So different on the surface, but
Yeah.
deeper down,
Totally.
there's some interesting stuff there.
And one thing that stood out to me
Yeah.
was this image of walls.
Oh, yeah.
Both sources use it,
Right.
but in like completely opposite ways.
Totally opposite.
Pasted text is all about breaking them down.
Yeah.
The wall, it's building them up.
Higher and higher.
Yeah, exactly.
The concept of a wall, it's such a powerful symbol.
Mhm.
Throughout history, walls have been used to, divide,
Right.
to protect,
To boundaries.
yeah, to establish boundaries.
And that's true both physically.
The Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
And metaphorically.
Those emotional walls we all put up sometimes.
It's true. We all instinctively understand walls, right?
We do.
And in the context of these two sources, they
Yeah.
become like this powerful symbol of our internal struggles.
Especially with, vulnerability,
Yeah.
emotional pain, that sort of thing.
It's like we're trying to shield ourselves from getting hurt again.
Yeah, and pasted text seems to suggest
Stop that.
that maybe those walls,
Yeah.
the ones we build for protection,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're the things actually preventing us from connecting.
Oh, wow.
It's a radical idea,
It is.
especially because we're taught, protect yourself, be careful. Right, be wary of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a real mind shift then.
It is.
To think that those walls might not be the solution,
Yeah.
but actually part of the problem.
Part of it.
Pasted text calls for us to tear them down,
Yeah.
embrace that vulnerability.
Even though it's scary.
Yeah, even though it can feel really scary.
It makes you wonder,
Isn't it?
what would life even look like without them?
Yeah.
Could we handle that openness? I don't know. What would happen if we just
Yeah.
embraced vulnerability knowing we might get hurt?
Big questions.
It's a question worth pondering, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the wall actually gives us one possible answer to that.
Okay. How so?
Pink, he's clearly terrified of being vulnerable. He's
Right.
been hurt, betrayed,
Mm-hmm.
and it's led him to, build this massive wall around his heart.
Literally and
Mhm.
figuratively.
But is he really protecting himself or just isolating himself more?
That's what the album explores.
Right.
We see Pink's journey.
Yeah.
And it's not pretty.
No.
The isolation leads to, a loss of intimacy.
Yeah.
This descent into madness almost.
Right.
He can't connect with people.
It's a warning sign
It is.
for all of us.
Yeah.
About what happens when we close ourselves off completely.
Shit everything out.
So the wall shows us the dark side of baiting those walls.
It does.
But pasted text
Yes.
is offering something else.
All
It's almost like an alternative path.
An alternative.
It's laying out this path of surrender,
Okay.
letting go of control,
Right.
breaking down barriers,
Yeah.
and opening ourselves up to something bigger.
That's a great way to put it.
I don't know. It's just,
Pasted text isn't saying we should just resign ourselves to fate, Right. It's more like surrender is a choice we make.
okay.
We decide to align ourselves with something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we don't fully get it,
Yeah.
but we trust in it,
That universal flow,
Yeah.
even if we don't know where it's taking us.
even if it seems scary.
I can see how that could be empowering,
Right.
but it also seems really hard.
It is.
How do we even do that?
That's the question.
How do we let go of that control?
The million-dollar question.
Yeah. Neither source really gives us a step-by-step guide.
No, but they do offer clues.
Okay.
Pasted text
Yeah.
really emphasizes this idea that we're all connected.
Right. We're not isolated.
We're part of this larger web.
Yeah. Like that line. I am the flow. You are the flow. We just surrender to what is.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful. But I'm still trying to figure out what that even means,
Practically speaking.
Yeah. Practically speaking.
Yeah.
How do I actually live that?
Maybe it's about shifting our perspective.
Okay.
moving away from this, like, individualistic worldview.
Right, where it's all about achievement.
Yeah, and control.
And instead, we embrace the reality that we're all connected.
Exactly. It's a fundamental shift.
Huge.
How we see ourselves in relation to the world and to each other.
So instead of feeling like we're battling the world all the time, we start to see ourselves as part of this, like, flow.
The interconnected web of it all.
And maybe that helps us relax our grip on control.
Let go a little.
Surrender to whatever forces are shaping our lives.
Whether we like it or not.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a subtle shift, but powerful.
Powerful.
Yeah. And it makes me think about all those moments in the wall
Yes.
that illustrate this struggle.
Between surrender and control.
Yeah, we touched on a few,
Yeah.
but there's so many great lyrics that speak to this.
Oh, absolutely. The wall is like full of metaphors.
All of them.
I always hear something new. I'm eager to hear what you've picked out.
One line that always gets me is from, "Hey, you."
Okay.
It's that simple line.
Yeah.
Together we stand, divided we fall.
Oh.
Like a warning almost.
Especially in the context of,
An album about isolation.
right.
Yeah.
It's like, even though Pink is building this wall,
Yeah.
a part of him still wants that connection.
That sense of belonging,
Yeah. He knows being alone isn't the answer
but he can't seem to stop himself.
from pushing everyone away.
Yeah, you can feel the desperation in those lyrics.
Oh, for sure.
Hey, you, out there in the cold, getting lonely, getting old, can you feel me? He's trapped.
In his own prison.
Yeah, of his own making.
Reaching out, but the walls are in the way.
Blocking the connection.
It's heartbreaking.
It is.
It's like he totally missed the point of pasted text.
Maybe.
If he could just, embrace that connection,
That surrenders.
surrender to something bigger,
Yeah.
he wouldn't feel so alone.
So lost.
Yeah.
It's like the wall shows us the consequences
Yeah.
of choosing to build those walls.
Instead of tearing them down.
Yeah, isolation might feel safe at first,
In the short term,
but in the long run,
it's a spiritual death.
a spiritual death, yeah.
So we have these warnings about isolation,
Right.
but the wall also explores what happens when we try to control things we can't really control. Oh, absolutely.
Like, think about the song Mother.
Mother?
It's kind of chilling.
It is.
When you think about everything we've been talking about,
Yeah. Right.
Like when he sings, "Mother, should I build the wall?" It's like he's asking for permission
To shut himself off.
to shut himself off from the world.
Yeah.
He wants guidance, but he's also like,
Putting the responsibility on someone else.
yeah, exactly.
And his mother.
Yeah,
While well-intentioned,
maybe.
she ends up, like, enabling him
Right.
to retreat into that isolation.
Wow.
She becomes this symbol of how,
Yeah.
sometimes even those closest to us who want to protect us,
Yeah.
they can actually stifle our growth.
Keep us from fully experiencing life.
It's a complex dynamic,
It is.
but the wall does a good job of exploring it.
It does.
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
Yeah.
Pasted text actually looks at pain in a totally different way.
Oh, so
It talks about the biggest pain being like a guidepost.
like a direction.
A direction.
Interesting.
It's not something to be feared,
Avoided.
but like embraced
Yeah,
as a source of wisdom.
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
Pasted text is saying pain isn't inherently bad.
Right.
It's a signal, a catalyst for growth and change.
Like, think about how much energy we spend trying to avoid being uncomfortable.
I know, right?
Our culture is obsessed with numbing ourselves.
Avoiding anything unpleasant.
Yeah. But pasted text is challenging that whole idea.
It is.
It's saying maybe, just maybe,
Yeah.
by leaning into the discomfort,
Okay.
embracing the full human experience,
So the good and the bad.
we can unlock something deeper.
It's a radical idea,
It is.
but a very ancient one.
Yeah, it's
To a
true.
lot of spiritual traditions, they see suffering as a necessary part of life.
Like a test
Yeah, a crucible.
that makes you stronger.
Forges strength and wisdom.
And maybe Pink's journey in the wall, as painful as it is leading him toward that.
It's a good way to think about it. But I gotta admit, I'm still struggling with this whole surrender concept.
Really?
It just feels so passive.
I get it.
Like I'm giving up.
Surrender can be a loaded word.
It is.
Defeat, resignation, weakness.
Rather than taking charge of my life.
Yeah, but what pasted text is saying is different.
Okay.
It's presenting surrender as a form of liberation.
Okay.
You're released from this illusion that we're in control.
So it's not about giving up, but letting go of what I can't control anyway.
Exactly.
Accepting that there are bigger forces at work.
Yeah.
And maybe, just maybe,
Yeah.
finding peace in that.
Aligning with that flow.
Maybe even power in that.
Yeah. Beautifully said.
I don't know. It's
Maybe that's how we reconcile free will and determinism.
right.
It's not about denying choice,
Okay.
but recognizing the limits of our control.
And then choosing to surrender.
To something bigger.
A delicate balance.
It is, wouldn't you say?
I'm starting to see the appeal,
Yeah.
but it still feels like a huge leap of faith.
I understand.
Like, how do we even know what to surrender to?
That's where discernment comes in.
What if we follow the wrong path?
Pasted text isn't saying surrender to just anything.
Okay.
It talks about aligning with a great spirit,
Right.
this universal flow that's like inherently good.
Guiding us towards something better.
Yeah, our highest good, you could say,
So it's about trusting our intuition then.
that inner voice.
Yeah, that guides us towards what feels right.
Yeah, aligned with our values.
And letting go of the need to control everything.
Trusting something bigger,
Wow, this is getting deep.
isn't it?
We've covered so much.
We have.
I feel like we're just scratching the surface.
There's always more to unpack.
Always more to discover.
Yeah, pasted text and the wall, they offer so much.
Mm-hmm.
We could go on for hours.
I know, right? Maybe we should pause here for a sec.
Okay,
Let these ideas sink in a bit.
let them simmer.
I have a feeling there's more to find.
I think so too.
As we explore this connection between surrender and transformation,
That's a good idea.
let's take a break.
Okay,
And we'll come back to this.
in our final installment.
Yes. Welcome back to the deep dive. This exploration of pasted text and the wall has been like a real mind bender.
That has.
It's amazing how these two sources, one talking about spiritual surrender, the other like a rock opera about isolation,
Right.
they keep revealing these deeper and deeper connections.
It's true. It really speaks to the power of art
Doesn't it?
to make us think, challenge our assumptions.
Spark these conversations.
Exactly.
It's really making me think about how pasted text.
Yeah.
It's almost like a roadmap.
A roadmap.
Yeah, like a spiritual roadmap for Pink's journey in the wall.
Interesting.
What if he'd had access to these ideas?
About surrender.
Yeah, surrender, transformation.
Do you think it would change things?
I don't know, but imagine, like,
Yeah.
Pink, instead of hiding behind those bricks,
Yeah.
he embraces the ideas in pasted text,
Okay.
surrenders to the pain, realizes he's not alone.
Trusts in a larger plan.
Yeah. What kind of story would the wall have told them?
It's a good question.
Right. Instead of isolating himself, he uses those experiences to grow.
To transform.
Yeah, his breakdown becomes a breakthrough.
It really highlights the power of choice, doesn't it?
It does.
We all face challenges, setbacks, but we have a choice.
To shut down?
Build walls.
Or open ourselves up?
To transformation.
Exactly. And you, the listener.
Yeah, you listening right now.
You have that same choice.
When life throws you a curveball,
What are you going to do?
build a wall or break one down.
But there's something that's been bugging me about pasted text.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
It says we don't have real choices,
Okay.
that everything is guided.
Right.
But isn't that like a contradiction?
How so?
How can we choose to surrender
Yeah.
if we don't actually have a choice?
I see. It gets to the heart of free will versus determinism.
Right. That's a big one.
It is.
Do we really control our lives?
Or is it all preordained?
Makes your head spin, right?
It's a classic debate.
Free will or no free will?
Yeah, are we really driving or just along for the ride?
How do you reconcile those two ideas?
Maybe it's not an either thing.
Okay.
Maybe it's a paradox.
The paradox.
We have freedom to make choices.
Yeah.
But within a larger framework
Okay.
that we can't control.
So like,
Think about it.
yeah.
You choose what to eat,
What to wear?
your career path,
Right.
but so much is outside our control.
Yeah, like,
Genetics, upbringing,
yeah.
economic forces, all that.
Yeah.
It shapes our reality.
Okay. That makes sense.
It's not about denying free will,
Right.
but understanding its limits.
It's like we're playing a hand of cards.
Exactly.
We didn't choose the cards,
Well,
but we choose how to play them.
you got it.
And that brings us back to surrender.
It does, doesn't it?
Maybe it's not giving up choices.
Right.
But choosing to align with something bigger.
A larger force, a wisdom we don't fully grasp,
Trusting that there's a bigger picture.
a plan we might not get.
And choosing to say yes to that.
Even when it's scary.
Taking that leap of faith.
Exactly.
So the wall shows us
Yeah.
what happens when we cling to control.
We isolate ourselves.
Shut out the world.
Right.
And pasted text offers something else.
Alternative.
A path of surrender, connection,
Embracing it all.
the good and the bad,
Light and shadow.
joy and pain.
The full spectrum.
And the choice is yours.
Each listener, you got to decide.
What path will you walk?
Will you build walls or tear them down?
Deep stuff.
I think we've reached the end of our deep dive.
We have.
Any final thoughts for our listeners before we wrap up?
Just sit with these questions.
Yeah.
What does surrender mean to you?
Right.
How do you balance control with acceptance? How can you use your experiences, even the tough ones, to transform?
Those are great questions.
I hope they resonate.
I know, I'll be thinking about them for a while.
This deep dive has given me a whole new perspective.
On pasted text, the wall.
Both of them, yeah.
They're both touching on these, like, fundamental truths.
It's about being human.
Yeah, just some different angles.
That's what I love about exploring these ideas.
From different worlds.
You see things in a new light.
Make connections you wouldn't have seen before.
Well said. This has been an incredible journey.
I agree.
Thanks for joining me.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep asking those questions.
Yeah, keep them coming.
And keep those deep dives coming.
You never know what you'll find.
You never know what you'll find.